Good morning, dear children of class 6, and I am glad to welcome you to today's botany class. So in today's class we are going to learn the continuation of chapter 2. What is chapter 2? Chapter 2 is the flower, right? So in our previous class we have already studied about the structure of the flower all. Today's topic is about fruits and seeds. So what has fruits and seeds have to do in the lesson called flower? What is the relationship between fruits and seeds and the flower? I'll teach you in today's class. Okay. So we have studied the detailed structure of flower, right? So after a process called as fertilization. What is fertilization? Fertilization is in a flower you have male parts and female parts. We have studied, right? You have pollen grains as well as you have stigma. The male part is pollen and the female part is stigma. Male is pollen. Female is stigma. So in a flower, the male and female portion, when they fuse together, that process you call it as fertilization. So after this male pollen and female stigma fuse together, that is after fertilization process, there are some changes happening in the flower. What are those changes? What will happen? Many parts of the flower will wither. The flower's petal, sepal and stamen will wither. What all will wither? This is petal, right? This is petal. The sepal, see, you cannot find sepal, it is already withered. Withered means it will fall off from the flower. It is no longer sticking to the flower, it will fall off. When it will fall off? After the process called as fertilization, petal will fall off. Sepal, what is sepal? We have studied some green leaf like portion here, no? So that is the sepal. The sepal will also fall off, and then stamen will also fall off. Which is stamen? These green structures will also fall off. Everything will fall off. Okay. What will remain? See, only this is going to remain. You have a structure called here, no? This will remain. All others will fall down. What is this structure? This structure is the ovary. Can you see here this green structure? This is this structure. Only this will remain. Everything else will fall down immediately after a process called as fertilization. Now what will happen to this structure? This structure will enlarge. What is enlarge? Enlarge means they will become big in size. What did I tell you? So after fertilization everything will fall, only this will remain. This is becoming bigger and bigger in size. The name of this part is the ovary. So the ovary becomes enlarged or bigger in size and it will become the fruit. See here, it is a fruit now. The ovary has enlarged and it becomes a fruit. Inside the fruit what will you have? You have seeds, right? So similarly inside the ovary what do you have? You have structures called ovules. This is ovule. The small dot like structures are ovules. We have studied in the previous class, right? So this ovules will be converted into seeds. This ovary will become the fruit and the ovules will become the seed. So the ovary is the fruit now. So this is the fruit. The red color structure is the fruit. And the ovule is the seed. Where is the ovule? See, this is the ovule, this is the seed. Clear? Then the seed will develop into a embryo. What is embryo? Embryo is something which can grow into a new plant. Again, see, when you put a seed into the soil, after some days you get a root and also a shoot, right? When you put a seed into a soil, what will happen? When you water it, after some days it will germinate into a root and shoot. No, how? Because it will develop into an embryo. A seed will become into a embryo, which means it can grow into a new plant. Clear? Then the embryo is the baby plant, will develop into a baby plant. So what have you studied in this slide? After the process of fertilization, what is fertilization? When a male pollen grain fuses with a female stigma, it is called fertilization, which we have studied in our previous class. So after the process of fertilization, what all changes will happen in a flower? The petal, the sepal, and the stamen will fall down. Only this portion, that is the ovary, will remain. So this ovary will enlarge bigger and bigger, and this bigger ovary is now called as the fruit. The ovary is called the fruit, and this ovule which is found inside the ovary will become the seed. The ovule is the seed. Now when you plant a seed, when you bury a seed into a soil, it will become the embryo which will develop root and shoot, that is the baby plant. Clear? So that is about the processes or changes happening after the process of fertilization. So what is the name of the lesson? The name of the lesson is fruits and seeds, right? So let's learn the detailed structure of a fruit and the detailed structure of a seed. So the detailed structure of fruits and seeds only you are going to learn in this lesson mainly today. So parts of a fruit, you must all have seen a fruit, right? Many fruits we have seen. So in general or commonly, what fruits have? Whatever fruit you eat, most of them will have seeds in them. Exceptions are there still, but mostly what all you can find some juicy fleshy structure and also one hard structure which is called the seeds, right? So there are two parts, main parts in a fruit. One is called the pericarp and the other one is called the seeds. So what are the two parts of fruits? Any fruit you eat will have two parts. One is called the pericarp. I told you juicy succulent structure, no? That is the juicy part is the pericarp. The soft part is the pericarp, and inside you have hard structures called as seeds. So these are the two main parts. This soft or juicy. So in this picture, which is the seed? This is the seed, right? The center portion is the seed. And this is the pericarp. The yellow color region is the pericarp. This is fully pericarp. Okay. Again, pericarp is divided into three regions. Okay. Pericarp is divided, this soft portion, no, this yellow color portion can be divided into three parts called as epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. Epicarp, mesocarp, endocarp. Always in biology when you hear this word epi means outside, epi means out. Okay, epi is out. And meso means middle. Meso means center or middle. Epi means out, meso means middle or center, and endo means inside. Endo means innermost or inside is called as endo. So epi, meso and endocarp. So what are these three parts? This soft or juicy structure of the fruit is divided into three parts called epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. See, this epicarp is the outer skin. For every fruit you eat, there will be outer skin. No, in apple or mango, if you see, there is a skin outside. No, that skin, that outermost skin is called the epicarp. Do you have a skin here? You have a skin, right? Here you have a skin. So this is the epicarp. The outer skin which covers the fruit is the epicarp. The middle portion, that is the pulpy or juicy or succulent or edible. Edible means whatever you can eat. Usually we don't eat the skin, right? The edible portion, whatever we eat, that is called the mesocarp. So what do we eat? This portion we eat, right? So this is the mesocarp. The portion what we eat is the mesocarp, and the outer skin is called the epicarp. What is the endocarp then? It is the portion which encloses the seed. Just immediately after the seed you have some region, no? This region is the endocarp. Okay, this is the endocarp. So, what have we studied? There are two main parts of fruits. One is the pericarp, that is whatever we eat is the pericarp, and the seed, the hard portion inside is called the seed, pericarp and the seed. Again, pericarp is divided into three parts called epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. Epicarp is the outer skin, mostly we don't eat that, just it gives protection to the fruit. And mesocarp is the middle portion, whatever we eat, the edible portion or the pulpy portion is the mesocarp, the center region is the mesocarp, and endocarp is the innermost region which immediately surrounds the seed. So, this is the seed, and the portion which is immediately next to the seed is called the endocarp. Okay, so this is about the parts of a fruit. Next we learn about the types of simple fruits. What are simple fruits? See, if a fruit can develop from one ovary, there is a flower and it has an ovary, right? In a flower you can find ovary, and you also have ovules, all right. So, if one flower has only one ovary, then that type of fruit developed. Already we have studied only from the ovary the fruits will develop, right? So, if there is one flower and if there is one ovary in that, and from that ovary if a fruit is going to develop, that is called simple fruit. So, a simple fruit is one in which a single ovary can develop into a single fruit. Okay. So, this is called simple fruits, and simple fruits are of two types called as dry fruits and fleshy fruits. So, simple fruits are of two types called dry fruits and fleshy fruits. The name itself suggests that dry means the fruit is going to be dry in nature. Okay. So, this is the example or the picture shown as walnut for dry fruit. See what is given, the entire pericarp is dry. What is pericarp? In our previous slide we have studied pericarp is the edible portion. Whatever you eat, usually the fruits are, the edible part in a fruit is juicy or succulent in nature, right? Whereas in dry fruits, see this is the pericarp. This portion you eat is very dry. The three portions, that is the epicarp, endocarp and mesocarp. What are they? What are these three parts? These three parts are the parts of pericarp. No? What are the three parts? Epicarp, endocarp and mesocarp. We have studied in the previous slide. No? These three parts are not differentiated. They are not differentiated. Which one? Epicarp, endocarp and mesocarp are not differentiated in the case of dry fruit. See, this is the dry fruit, they are not differentiated. Examples given for dry fruits are garden pea, beans, where the pod is the pericarp. See, green peas, what you have many pea like this, and you have a outer covering, right? So, these are called pods. These pods are the pericarp. The exact pods, that is the beans, they are the pericarp. Here also you cannot differentiate the epicarp, endocarp and mesocarp. Similarly, in the walnut, the hard shell is the pericarp. Here, this is the pericarp. The shell is the pericarp in a walnut. Clear? So, this is about the dry fruits. Then what about the fleshy fruits? In fleshy fruits, the pericarp is succulent or juicy. Before learning about the description of fleshy fruits, let us see the examples for fleshy fruits. Mango, peaches and cherries are example for fleshy fruits. Just imagine mango in your mind. So, in mango, the pericarp is the succulent or fleshy part. The mango what you eat, no, that is the pericarp. Okay. So, it is differentiated into epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. So that fleshy part itself is divided into 3. You can differentiate them in the case of fleshy fruits, but in the case of dry fruits, all these 3 parts are not at all differentiated. They exist as a single dry portion. Clear? So they are differentiated into epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. About these structures we have studied in a previous slide. That is, epicarp means the outer skin, mesocarp means the portion what you eat, and endocarp means the portion sticking on to the skin. Okay, so these are about the dry fruits and fleshy fruits. Next we learn about the parts of seeds. So the topic itself is about fruits and seeds, right? So we have learnt about the fruits in our previous slides, and henceforth we will be learning about seeds, the parts of a seed. Usually seeds are characteristics of only flowering plants. In plant kingdom you have 2 types of plants called as flowering plants and non-flowering plants, right? What are flowering plants? Whatever plants can produce flowers, they are called as flowering plants, and which cannot produce flowers are called non-flowering plants. Flowering plants are also called by the name angiosperms, and non-flowering plants are called as gymnosperms. So these angiosperms, that is the flowering plants, only can produce seeds, whereas the gymnosperms will not produce seeds because they cannot produce flowers also. So the concept here is only the flowering plants can produce seeds. Okay, so what are the parts of a seed? See, this is a structure of a seed. What all can you find? There are 4 parts in a seed. The first one is called seed coat. The second part is embryo. The third part is cotyledons, and the fourth part is endosperm. What are the 4 parts of a seed? If you have a seed, there are 4 parts in them: seed coat, embryo, cotyledons and endosperm. So the name itself suggests that there is a covering in a seed, and that covering is called, the covering or the coat is called the seed coat. Where can you see the covering here? Can you see the outermost layer? So this is called the seed coat. Okay, the explanation part we will be learning in the upcoming slides. Just know what it is and where it is. I will show you in this slide. So this is the covering of the seed is called the seed coat, and the next portion is called the embryo. So this region is called the embryo. Okay, this region where the plant is about to grow is called the embryo. So the covering, seed coat, and the portion of the seed where the plant is about to grow is called the embryo. See, the small plant is growing from this region. No, that region is called the embryo. Then cotyledons. So this center portion is called the cotyledon. Why it is called the cotyledon? See, usually there are 2 types of cotyledons called monocots and dicots. Monocotyledonous plant and dicotyledonous plant. See, this is a monocotyledonous plant because there is only one cotyledon. Suppose you have in some plants all you have like this 2 structures which are called dicotyledonous plants. Okay, like this it will appear, like 2 bean shaped structures. Okay, that is called dicotyledonous plants. And finally the endosperm. Endosperm is the region immediately before the seed coat. Like this region is the endosperm region. About this explanation also we will study in the upcoming slides. So seed coat, embryo, cotyledon and the endosperm. So these are the 4 parts of a seed, and about these 4 parts we will be learning in the upcoming slides, the explanation of these 4 parts. So what is the first part? The seed coat, right? Again I have shown the picture of a monocotyledonous plants. See, here you can see the seed coat very clearly. The brown color outer covering, no, this is the seed coat here. So to describe the seed coat, it is the outermost protective layer. Why it is called outermost? Because it is the outermost layer of a seed. This is the entire seed and this is the outermost layer, which is the seed coat. Can you see this one? So this is the seed coat. And then it is a protective layer. What it protects? It protects the seeds. The seed coat is responsible for the protection of the seeds, as well as it protects all the inner parts. What are the inner parts? You have many parts here, like the embryo, the cotyledon and the endosperm. All these parts are protected only by the seed coat. And then it absorbs. See, actually in a seed coat you will have an opening in this region. You will have a opening or a pore in this region, and that pore is called micropyle. What is a micropyle? The opening in the seed coat is called the micropyle. You have a opening or a hole in the seed coat. Why you have a hole? Because through this hole water will enter inside. Seed coat is usually very hard in nature, no? So actually through this micropyle or the opening only, what you pour will absorb, will enter inside. So once water starts entering inside, it will make the seed itself very soft. When you soak something in water, it will be soft, right? Because through the micropyle, the water will enter inside. So after it enters, the seed is soft in nature and it breaks apart and then it can germinate. Suppose if you are going to make a seed to germinate, first when you put inside the soil, it is very hard, right? So when you pour the water will enter through the micropyle and the seed will become soft, then it will break and then it will germinate. If it is very hard, it cannot germinate, right? So it has to be softened and then it has to be broken for the process of germination. So this is about the seed coat. Next we learn about the embryo. Which is the embryo here? The embryo is this portion. So this portion which has this green color region. What is this green color region? This green color portion is the one which is going to become a root or a shoot. When you sow the seed inside the soil, no, you will get roots and shoots, right? So from where it comes, it doesn't come from the center, it comes from this region. So this region which is about to develop into a root or a shoot, that region is called the embryo. So the part that developed from zygote. What is zygote? Initially in the first slide I told you, fusion of male and female gametes, that is the fusion of pollen grains and the stamen or the stigma will result in the formation of zygote, okay, the egg region. So this region is developed from the zygote. The embryo is a part that developed from the zygote. Zygote is formed from the fusion of male and female gametes. Okay. So this embryo is going to become two parts. One is called radicle and the second one is called plumule. So what are the two regions which are going to generate from this embryo? One is called radicle and the next one is called plumule. The radicle will develop into a root and the plumule will develop into a shoot. The radicle, no, which this portion will form roots later and this portion is going to form shoots, that is the leaf region. Which one? Radicle will develop into a root, whereas plumule, this region, will develop into shoot region or the shoot system. So what have we studied about the embryo? The embryo, initially it is developed from which one? From the zygote. Zygote is nothing but a product formed by the fusion of male and the female gametes, and then it can develop into two things. One is called radicle and plumule. One radicle will develop into a root system and one plumule will develop into a shoot system. So this is all about embryo. Next we learn about cotyledons. I told you initially in the classification chart that there are two types of cotyledons called monocotyledons and this is called dicotyledons. Mono means one and di means it is 2. So already you have studied in grasses all you have monocotyledons, whereas in beans all you have dicotyledons. So this is the cotyledon, this seed like structure, no, it is the cotyledon, and if it is 2 in number then you call it as a dicotyledon, and if it is only 1 in number you are going to call it as monocotyledon. This cotyledons generally, where is the cotyledon here? This center portion, this is the cotyledon. This middle region is the cotyledon. Okay, so this cotyledon also has another name called seed leaves. What is another name for cotyledons? Seed leaves. This is surrounded by the embryo. Where is the embryo? Already we have studied. This immediately is surrounded by the embryo region. So in dicots you can see clearly. So if this is the cotyledon, it is completely surrounded by the embryo region. This green color portion, no, that is the embryo region which is going to develop into a root or a shoot. So cotyledons are also called as seed leaves, and the cotyledons are surrounded by the embryo region which is about to develop into a root or a shoot. And then in the function of the cotyledons is to nourish the seedlings. What is nourishing? Nourishing means the seedlings, that is the green portion which is about to develop into a root or a shoot, no? When it grows it needs nutrients, right? We are not adding any nutrients to the seeds initially, just we sow the seed into the soil. So when it is sown into the soil, initially for its nutritional requirements it will take from the cotyledons. Which one? The seedling, that is the small green portion. Can you see here or here? This plant will, that is a seedling, will take its nutrients from the cotyledons. That is why it is said that it nourished the seedlings. And then if it is 1 in number, it is called monocotyledons, which is present in monocots or monocotyledonous plants, and if it is 2 in number it is called dicots and it is present in dicotyledonous plants. Okay, so this is about cotyledons. The last portion is the endosperm. So we have studied already, endosperm is a region just below the seed coat. If you have this seed coat as the outer covering, no, endosperm is the portion immediately. Can you see this region separated? This darker yellow color region is the endosperm. This is the seed coat, this is the endosperm. So this is all endosperm. This dark yellow color region, no, this is all the endosperm. What is the function of endosperm? Okay, where it is located? It is beneath, which means it is interior, just below the seed coat, and it provides food to the embryo. Already we have seen the cotyledons will nourish the seedling. The cotyledons will nourish the seedling means when the seedling begins to grow into a root or a shoot, the cotyledons will give them the nutrients. But the embryo, which is the embryo? This one, no? This is nourished by, the embryo is nourished by the endosperm. This endosperm region will provide nutrients to the embryo region, and the cotyledons will provide nutrients to the small plant, that is the seedling. Clear? So always keep in mind, endosperm nourishes the embryo and cotyledons will nourish the seedling or the small plant. And it is reduced in the case of dicots. See, this is a dicotyledonous plant. No, here the endosperm is usually very less in quantity. It has only very less nutrients because it is reduced in structure. And for today's homework, you are going to read from pages 28 to 29. There are only 2 pages, but there are so many concepts there. So please read the lesson carefully. So that is all for today's class. And until I meet you in your next class, you all take care and bye-bye.